So I'm Phyllis. I'm one of Janice's. We're three sisters. And those of you who know me and those of you who've spoken to me today know that I'm the nicest. So I don't have a pad, but Josh asked me if I knew about the internet, and I have little notes on my phone. So, to be serious for a while, a day or two before Howard passed, he said to me, "Thank you for making me part of the family." And I corrected him. I said, "Howard, I didn't do that. We all made you part of the family." And Howard himself made himself part of our family. And I remember when Janice first brought Howard down to Patchogue for all of us to meet, it was evident immediately how important they were to each other. And besides, Howard came with Stella the Wonder Dog. Who could possibly not accept and love someone who have raised Stella? We were more concerned that Howard might suffer culture shock, be scared off meeting the Benincasa clan. We're loud, we're opinionated, and when we gather for family events and holidays, we're many. But Howard, from the first holiday to many, many, many holidays, he accepted us. He knew that the food would keep coming, the wine would keep flowing. We would get louder and louder to talk over each other to be heard. Opinions would get very strong, and often serious arguments resulted, and then we would reminisce. And Howard accepted and even took part in all of this. And you're not going to believe this, those who know him so well. At no point for a long, long, long time did Howard's shadow personality, Howard the curmudgeon, ever appear. And then two things happened, and I think he was comfortable enough after these to show his real personality, his full personality. The first is when Howard, the confirmed committed bachelor of the Catskills, suggested to Janice that they might get married. It might have been more romantic than that, but I don't think so. The second was the actual wedding. And those of you who were there probably remember, how could you forget? Janice standing on the porch with the officiant, Howard coming out of the house, looking around, running back into the house, passing out on the bed. We were all confused, except I've often thought Frank and Martha were not confused. Howard was revived, he was talked off the ledge, he came out, and they were married. And it was probably the next holiday when Howard was comfortable enough we talked, we were loud, we argued, we started to reminisce. Howard stood up and said, "You tell the same stories all the time. You talk about the same dead people. What's the point?" He left the table, he found a couch, and he went to sleep. So thereafter, we knew, at the point after the arguing and everything, and we'd start to reminisce, we knew Howard would just get up, go to sleep, or read a book. Will always be part of our family. We've just added a curmudgeon to our family. And I've often wondered where you contract the conundrum, curmudgeon syndrome. And then I've spent some time in Arkville recently, and I realized there's something other than arsenic, Michael, in the water. So Howard the curmudgeon or not, he and I had two special bonds. The first was our shared love of fine literature, murder, serial killers, kidnapping, and of course espionage. The second was what we called them Howard's songs. Had nothing to do with his love of jazz. Every year for Howard's birthday, I would call and sing happy birthday and end with, "Happy birthday, dear Howard, our family's token Jew. Ole," and he would say, "Ole, what's the ole?" And then on Jewish holidays, I would call and sing, "Dreidel, dreidel, dreidel, I made it out of clay. If you have a dreidel, please come out and play. Ole," and he would say again, the ole. And one year he said to me, "You know, you only talk about a dreidel on one holiday." And I said, "Well, what might that be?" "How would I know? Ask Janice." So Hanukkah, I would take a Christmas song and change the words to honor Howard's heritage, always with Ole, and what's with the Ole? And this past Christmas, at Hanukkah, he called me and said, where's the song? So I said, you know, you celebrate for a lot of days. I've still got some time. So this year I decided to change the words to Sleigh Bells Ring, and I called him, and as it was ringing, I hung up, I thought, I make sure I have the tune right. But obviously that didn't matter, which is why I'm not singing it to you. He immediately called me back and he said, you called and hung up. So I said, Howard, I have the song, but I had to tweak it. For that, you let it ring twice? I had to walk all the way downstairs and you hang up on me? And he hung up. So I called him back and I said, I sang, temple bells are ringing, in the shul they're davening, a beautiful sight, we're happy tonight, walking on the path that Moses tread. And Howard said, no Ole. So when I have notes, Josh, because I've forgotten my place where I am. Oh.
You're doing great so far.
No, oh, thank you. How old do you want to date? This is a nice part. So we've missed Howard for a number of years because he stopped coming to family holidays with Janice because he couldn't eat all the food, he couldn't drink. But he admitted that he missed us, and we certainly missed our curmudgeon. He's a true member of our family. And I'm forever grateful for the time that we had together, the laughter we all shared together, his curmudgery. And I know that we'll miss him even more because he's another piece that's absent from the puzzle. That's the Benincasa, Luisi, Shortino, Frank families. I'm also grateful that he and Janice found each other and that they filled gaps that were missing in each other's lives and that they made a wonderful life in Arkville with this Arkville family, a wonderful family, though a little strange. And Janice, both your families are here for you today, and both your families will be here for you and Maisie forever. So I'd like to raise a drink to Janice and Howard and Maisie, their love and their life, and to our curmudgeon Howard, Ole.
Ole!
Howard was a good hunter, hunted often with Raab, often, if not always, got a deer, also a very good turkey hunter, and often would get a turkey. Howard would eat, of course, what he shot, and save the bits that had use. Janice now is the proud possessor of enough turkey feathers to fly. Howard was a good cook, and he was also a terrific grower of kick-ass cannabis. Those people, applaud. Those people nodding out near you are probably clients.
Say that Howard and Sandy created for us the most wonderful wedding invitation you could ever imagine. They designed it. It was just a card, and Sandy was Howard and Sandy were both great punsters, and so Frank and I were tied back to back with a big knot in front of us, and it just says "Join us." And that invitation has given us a great deal of pleasure, and the photograph that was taken of it is framed in our hallway to this day.
We're looking for more stories that are untrue.
I probably wouldn't know a lot of you in this room if it weren't for Howard, because he was the core and he was the organizer. He texted everybody on Facebook, and we're going to meet at this place at this time, at either Alton Road or at the Bart Park behind Freshtown. So I have to be thankful for him that I got to know, not that I wouldn't have met you eventually, but I really got to know a lot of you in this room because of Howard.
Just a little short pot smoking story I shared with Howard. We would walk Jim Alton Road practically every day, 4 or 5 times a week, for years and years, along with all the other trails. One day, we were sitting by the water, smoking one of his joints, while the dogs were playing, and I said to Howard, you know the two Muppet characters, Statler and Hilton, the two old guys who argue about everything. I said, Howard, smoking the pot makes me think that you could have joined that duo. You could have been Waldorf. He liked that.
Nick's sense of humor far outweighs his spelling ability. The sign that he made for the Binnakill Square restaurant said dinning room.
So I'm not going to be funny like everybody else was, but I just wanted to say how important Howard was to the early Catskill Mountain Club and to me as a hiker. We did so much trail maintenance together, and Howard was just such a big part of us leading hikes and working on things. He adopted Kelly Hollow, and Nick used to joke that when Howard spoke, it was a noun, a verb, and Kelly Hollow. That was his favorite hiking place. And he was really into interesting kinds of hikes, so we did a lot of nighttime hikes inspired by Howard. And he designed these little reflective discs that are still up as trail markers on some of our trails, so that if you hike at night and you have a little flashlight, you can just flash it in the general area and find the trail markers. He was very inventive in even things like that. So I just wanted to say how important he was to all of us in trail.
A lot happened in the past 20 years when I would return to the Catskills and seek out Howard to go for a hike, or simply to be a witness to my political debates with Janice. It was the former that I recollect today as I walk through the woods. Well, not quite the magical Catskills. I do live in a land of woods, wildflowers, wild blueberries, mushrooms, and such, many of which I came across with you years ago. It's clear to me that my relationship with nature comes from the sense of wonder and reverence that Howard had, as well as a sense of responsibility and stewardship. We don't choose our parents, let alone our parents' friends. But if I had the chance to choose, I would choose Howard. Thank you for showing me how to do, how howdy do. I love you. P.S. If you come across Clive on the other side, hide. And then scare the death out of
So when my dad quit his teaching job and moved into the hippie commune in Earthbridge, with my mom wisely leaving the wedding china with her parents, that's when I met Howard. In diapers, I remember it, not at all. And so began my relationship with Howard. One of my fondest memories of childhood was at his house in Weaver Hollow that Sandy got, because he had restored this old apple cider press. And true to who he was as a craftsman, he had made it just right. True to who he was as someone who enjoyed a good party with people, he would invite everybody to do the work. So we kids, not knowing any better, would be the ones gathering the apples. And for those of you who remember it or know a similar one, you would put the apples in the big thing on top to crush them down, and then you would press it, and out would flow the best apple cider I've ever had. And that is still one of the best memories I have of what it meant to be a kid in the Catskills.
So Howard, husband, modeler, carpenter, builder, punster, music lover, dog friend, collector, hiker, mycologist, photographer, board member, hunter, gardener, artist, stained glass maker, odd dancer, volunteer, designer, chemist, baseball fan, and as I mentioned, the curmudgeon, we'll keep that to ourselves or share them privately. He was a friend, an old friend, a close friend, my friend, your friend, our friend, Howard Joseph Raab, too soon gone.
Once there was a way to get back homeward. Once there was a way to get back home. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. Golden slumbers fill your eyes, smiles awake you when you rise. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. Once there was a way to get back homeward. Once there was a way to get back home. Sleep, pretty darling, do not cry, and I will sing a lullaby. Olé! Olé!
I couldn't have done that.